Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I've got filmmaker Aysha Wax on Zoom. Hey, Aysha.
Hi.
All right, so we just had a wonderful chat, a nice, probably hour podcast that was an interview about Aysha and her film Grief Vigiliantes, which played at lots of festivals during 2020 and 2021. And in fact, it was at Film Invasion Los Angeles. One of the first COVID festivals was Film Invasion LA in 2020 of June of 2020, where she took home Outstanding Short Film Comedy and Outstanding Acting by a Cast. Super cool film, great film. You can hear all about it in the podcast before this one. And you'll be able to see it someday. Aysha's got plans.
I have plans.
She's got plans. You'll just have to visit AyshaWax.com to find out what those plans are eventually. But this episode is a Discover Indie Film 4 Questions episode. And funny, I just learned you were a Heba school teacher, so you probably get the 4 questions joke there.
I got it.
It's got it. And but these 4 questions have nothing to do with dining and special ceremony. These 4 are favorite films of all time, limit 3, a film that's underrated, a film that's overrated, and a lesser known film that people should seek out. It's really just an excuse to chat about movies and the love of them. And very close friend of mine is a professional session drummer, and all his social media is starting arguments about bands and drummers.
Oh.
And he just goes on Facebook and goes, Neil Peart of Rush is the most overrated drummer of all time. Take me on. And then all the Rush fans fight him, and I was like, I like how he goes overrated, and then he says like someone else, Paul McCartney's the most underrated bass player, and so because I'm not sure he is, because a lot of people acknowledge him as one of the greats. But anyway, so James inspired me to do the same thing for film.
Awesome. Okay. I have my favorites. And the sound in the background is my cat scratching on her scratch pad.
I don't think the mic's picking it up, but
great.
I wish I could just see her. I wish I could see her because
Oh, you can maybe hear. I can show you. Where are Luna? Oh, she's hiding.
Oh, fair enough.
Come here.
She doesn't. I haven't had my own cat since high school. And for me, that's almost 40 years. So
it's time. Okay, we'll talk about movies. Sorry, I got distracted by cats again. It happens. But my favorite movies that I can think of, 3 that are my faves are Clueless, because it's a perfect movie. Another movie that's my favorite is West Side Story, the original. The remake is very good. It has some issues, but it also improves on some things. But I love the original musical, and I love the dance numbers. And what is my third? I love Beauty and the Beast. So that has always been one of my favorite movies. The 1991 animated, not the live action one, which is a little bit garbage.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Great films. I mean, Clueless holds up wonderfully. When we showed it to our daughter when she was, I think, 11 or 12, so a couple years ago, she just loved it. In fact, she remembers more from it than us.
Yeah, I think I know like every line. I remember seeing that when I was 10 in theaters, and it made me want to make movies. It made me want to perform. It made me want to go out and buy some really cool clothes. So it just has a whole aesthetic vibe about it that really translates today. And it's super funny, and it's just one of the best movies. And
Amy Heckerling is like probably one of the most underrated directors, because she nails it with everything, including documentaries, right? I think she's made some great documentaries.
Amazing.
So,
yeah.
But a great writer.
Yes. So I love Clueless. It's one of my favorites. I love a well-made comedy. It's really hard. And it's a comedy that holds up, which is really hard, because when you think about a lot of comedies, a lot of them are, even John Hughes movies are like reliant on jokes that are like stereotypes or racist. And there isn't that much in that. It like Clueless still, you can watch it and be like, okay, they're not saying that Christian is a bad person because he's gay. Like he just is gay. So, yeah. And like Dion gets to be her own full-fledged Black character at a time when, you know, in a mainstream movie, you didn't necessarily get that if it wasn't a Black director. So I love Clueless.
I'll just share another funny thing about Clueless, which is our daughter absolutely loved it. And I said to her afterwards, you know, all those kids were named after famous singers of the 70s. And she said, what are you talking about? And I was like, Elton, Cher, Dion. I'm like, those are all, like, I started naming who they were. She completely loved the film, even though that was completely lost on her. Like, you don't even need those jokes for the film to be wonderful.
Yes. So I love that. I've always loved West Side Story, and I've always loved Beauty and the Beast. I think that they're good stories and they're emotional. And I think a good movie should make you feel something. I feel like a lot of movies, I can go into my overrated movie because it doesn't make me feel anything, even though it's aesthetically beautiful. And that movie is Citizen Kane. It is a beautiful movie. You come away feeling nothing because you're just like, oh, sad. I guess it's just like watching a white man who did dumb things. And I'm like, I don't feel bad for him. So
I actually agree with you. Citizen Kane at times would be my, like, I play with this list myself. And yeah, I think Citizen Kane doesn't hold up very well. For its time, it was revolutionary, but I'm not sure it holds up amazingly. I know really, people feel it does, but
I get it. And I think I think growing up, it was kind of touted as like the best movie ever. And for me, it's kind of just an okay, like it's beautiful and it's shot really well. I think it's too long, and I don't love a too long movie that's too long for no reason. And you don't like, I think it's, if you don't feel something for your main character and you don't care that it's a tragedy, then it's a failure.
Absolutely. And by the way, I didn't mean to focus on Clueless too much. Obviously, West Side Story,
no, that's
in
fine.
spite of, and you implied that there are a couple problems just with the way it was made at the time. But yeah, it's just an amazing classic. And I know so many people who feel Beauty and the Beast is one of the greatest of all time. That movie actually never really worked for me. Not sure. I won't bother explaining, but
that's
people
fine.
I really respect love it. Like,
well, you also probably didn't see it when you were 5. So
I saw it in college.
Yeah, so I feel like a different experience. But yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was good storytelling and just really pretty. You know, I like things that look good too.
For sure. And do you have an underrated you want to throw in?
I do. I feel like it's funny because we were talking about grief, and I feel like a really great movie about grief that's underrated is Beginners, the Mike Mills movie. I love that movie, and I remember his dad is sick in it. I don't know. I think he does end up passing away, but I remember just sobbing, and it was while my dad was sick. And it's just such a beautiful movie. And I think that Mike Mills does such a good job at like connecting with the audience. And I think like, obviously not every film is going to make you feel something, but if I feel like a big trend is for movies to make you feel nothing right now. And like, if I'm going to see art, I want to feel something and make me like feel connected and alive. And that movie, I came out feeling alive and like part of something.
Yeah, that's the Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer. Yeah. And yeah. I mean, Christopher Plummer, isn't he one of the most underrated? Like I don't know why he's not held up with the Anthony Hopkinses and the Ian McKellens, because Christopher Plummer's been amazing his entire life.
Yeah, so that movie was just so beautiful, and I think I love a movie about connection and people finding each other, and I think for me that's like a big ethos for me about being, you know, making art and being alive and laughing is like the connection. So any movie where people get to be connected makes me feel, and I get to feel, is just like that's the goal for a movie for me. I mean, look, not all movies can be that. Sometimes they got to be dumb, and I love a dumb movie. I love like the dumber the better sometimes. But if I feel like a lot of prestige films get bogged down in the look of them versus the characters.
Yeah, I know. And you make me think. I actually debated when I was picking the 4 questions 4 years ago, and it was between the last one was either going to be a lesser known that people should seek out or a guilty pleasure.
Ooh,
because sometimes those, you like you said it, like sometimes a completely moronic movie is the greatest thing ever. In fact, I think the second Bill and Ted movie is like a perfect movie.
I haven't seen it. I have to watch it. Oh my God,
Bill and Ted Go to Hell is so much better than Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And I didn't see the third one. Shame on me when they're older.
Okay, well, I have to see both of those, but apparently. I love all of that. Yeah, I get that. Guilty pleasures are important. And I feel like my oeuvre is trash and like really highfalutin. I don't like traffic a lot in the middle. I like to I want it to be garbage or I want it to be like the best, which is why I watch a lot of reality TV. You learn a lot. Mike White is doing it. He wrote The White Lotus. Why can't we do it too? So, and you were saying something to check out that you haven't seen. Oh, I have something. I have 2 things. One I've talked about before, actually, on a podcast about film, which is this movie from the 40s called Dead End. It's with Humphrey Bogart. It's about class and wealth disparity, and it's really applicable now. It's amazing. Highly recommend it. And then the next one is a really weird animated movie that I saw in the Criterion Collection. It's a short last week. It's called Asparagus. It's very sexual. It's beautiful, and it's very strange. It's from the 70s from this female filmmaker, and I just felt like it changed me, and it was so incredibly weird. So seek that out if you can.
And it was from the 70s, you said?
Yeah.
70s animation is often like incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredibly weird because the studio system had cracked apart at the end of the 60s, right? When they made the studios sell the theaters. And then like all those animators, I mean, you got Fritz the Cat, which is the well-known one. There's this amazing one out of France called Forbidden Planet. And
yeah, you should definitely check out Asparagus.
I'm trying to check out Asparagus. Wow.
It's very phallic, very weird, very much feels like you've done a lot of drugs. I watched it completely sober and I was like, why didn't I take more drugs? But yeah, it's one of those ways where film can transport you, even for 20 minutes.
I've believed my entire life, probably since middle school or high school, I've always enjoyed the stuff that people say you should be high for.
Yes.
And I was very rarely high for it. I just loved it. I loved the creativity and stuff. It took me 40 something years and probably 60, 70 viewings of the Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie to finally get high and watch it.
You're living. You know what? There's no expiration date on when you can get high.
There's no expiration. Well, and do you want to do a guilty pleasure for the fun of it?
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm trying to think, so my husband and I watch a lot of Nicolas Cage movies, but like bad Nicolas Cage movies. And I'm like not even like National Treasure. Like these are and I'm trying to think of like really bad ones. I'm trying to think of some other guilty pleasures too. I would just say, if you look for a Nicolas Cage movie within the last 10 years, when he is really trying to pay for things because he has a spending problem, you're going to get, that's the one that he's in, the Lieutenant, the one where he's in New Orleans. Hold on, I'm looking it up. I'm sorry. I have
no worries. And I saw a funny interview where he claims, and who knows if he's serious or not, but I heard an interview where he claimed that period, I think, didn't he owe the IRS millions, and that's why he had to take tons of movies to like pay out the IRS? But he claims he's done his best work in that period, which is hilarious.
I don't disagree. Okay, I'm looking on IMDb right now. There's a couple that I've watched. Primal, very good. He's on a ship. There's a loose tiger, very weird. The one I'm thinking of, it's like 10 years old. You know what? It's funny because I liked some of these really. Season of the Witch, highly recommend. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. It's just like you'll never have a performance like that again. He's just a master.
Is that an unofficial sequel to Bad Lieutenant, the Harvey Keitel?
Yes.
I knew that there was like an unofficial sequel, but I had no idea.
It's insane.
This will mean nothing to the public, but I just saw a cat paw reach for the doorknob behind
Oh yeah, she's trying to get out.
She's trying to get out, which is adorable. I was going to tell you something, and the cat paw totally was so delightful.
Maybe
it's a white paw. It's a cute little white paw and a great.
She has little gloves.
Yeah, it's a little glove.
I'll grab her. She can do an angry cameo. Hold on, Luna. Okay, this is Luna.
She's beautiful. That is a beautiful cat. Should I do do you want to do I was going to have you do a screen grab anyway.
Sure.
Oh, she's posing.
she's a bit
of a diva, yeah.
She's very much a diva. She's hungry. She's mad. She's like, "Where's my food?"
Fair enough. She's like, "You're not supposed to be on the computer for an hour at this time of night. You're supposed to be."
Yeah.
You exist to feed her, so I understand. True. All right. Well, I totally forgot what I was going to tell you because that adorable little gloved cat paw.
Oh, I have a controversial Nicolas Cage opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's better in some of these movies from the last 10 years than he was in Pig, which I thought was okay. I didn't think it was great. But it was like a prestige-y movie. But I think that like some of the movies where he's like Port of Call, New Orleans, where he's really off the wall, that's what I want.
You want him to be fully Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I was going to tell you? I had not watched a reality show since my first marriage ended 12 something years ago. And then by accident, last week, we watched F-Boy Island.
Oh, yes.
On HBO Max because I thought Nikki Glaser was, I thought because she was, I read something that she did this F-Boy Island thing on HBO and I assumed it was a spoof of a reality show. But it's from the producer, like a producer from The Bachelor. And it is the trashiest dating show like they could come up with.
Oh, it's wonderful. I really enjoy it. I watched all the first season. I'm a little behind on the second season. I would say that you learn a lot about like great editing from reality TV if you are watching anything in the 90 Day Fiancé universe. It's just like really insane people. And I feel like a great character study. I'm watching Below Deck right now, all of the different Below Decks in the Below Deck universe. Highly recommend. I think that Mike White talks a lot about it. And I think that there's a lot of weird shit out there and I want to experience it just as much as I want to experience a wonderful film.
That's a wonderful place to stop. All right. Well, you just heard Aysha Wax give her opinions on some wonderful films, and I won't call it trash TV. That's unfair. And the beauty of unscripted but incredibly well produced reality TV. That's the funniest thing is when they would call it reality. I'm like, I would always argue with people in my old life, like, you realize how produced this is. Like they're, but anything that get you shouting at your TV is worth it, right? I mean,
absolutely. my cat's like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah, so. Now she's fair enough. All right, so go to AyshaWax.com or at Aysha Wax to follow her on social media or learn more. Thank you for listening to the Discover Indie Film Podcast. You can learn more about this podcast or the TV series that was born out of it that's on Amazon Prime Video if you go to discoverindiefilm.com, or it's at DIFwins. And Aysha's film Grief Vigilantes took home 2 awards at Filmvasion Los Angeles. And I was delighted to hear in the last podcast that you met some people, those virtual mixers, and stayed friends. I love that. What's better than like 3 years later finding out that people collaborated and stuff. It's always lovely. So if you want to learn about that festival that we hold every June in Los Angeles, it's filminvasionla.com, or it's at filminvasionla. It's funny, some people I say it too fast, and a woman said, "Are you saying evasion?" I'm like, "No, we're not evading film." So and there is a sister festival every November called Sherman Oaks Film Festival. It's ShermanOaksFF.com and at ShermanOaksFF. Both festivals are, thank you, Filmmaker Universe, in the top 100 best reviewed on Film Freeway, which is very cool because there's like 10,000 festivals.
Wow.
And we're in the top 100.
That's awesome.
Because our motto is, we're the festivals that give a shit. So.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you, Aysha, so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we finally did it.
We did it. Did so good.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.